How's everybody doing, guys? This is Madaz, finally back with a video. I know it's been forever, but been waiting on the market to give me something to work with, but it just won't cooperate. We had that one brief moment of hope, and dries squeezed on July 21st, I believe. That's when dries took off in the afternoon and just squeezed everyone. I thought that would ignite the market again, and I was ready to fire off my video recorder to record some nice epic action the following week, but the market said nope. Ended up being a big tease, and that was a really big letdown, and it was tough, definitely to deal with something like that. I was really expecting. I remember that weekend I was very excited to trade the following week, and then we came back and we got dead volume and dead action again. So unfortunately, that's just the way things are, and it was a very slow month. And we gotta take what the market gives us. That's just how it is. But overall, made out with $25,000 on the month. Not my best month, but after 2 consecutive red months, I needed something positive to work off of, and I wanted to make it a point this month to show that I can trade responsibly, trade with discipline, and come out positive in what could have been a very bad month if I traded with no discipline at all. So definitely the low volume and the slow price action made it a big time challenge, as I'm sure it was for a lot of people. But I feel like I dealt with it well enough overall. So let's go ahead and jump in and talk about the plays this month. Let's go over some charts. I'm not going to go over every single chart, just to be mindful of the time, but just to give you guys a general idea of how this month played out and how the market conditions were. You can kind of see the first week was actually not that bad. The first week I was expecting it to be 4th of July and a holiday, and everyone would be too drunk to come back to trade, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. The first week I made $13,800. That was my best week in July. We actually had some pretty good action. The first week we had SPX, solid action. Let's go ahead and look at the chart on SPX, which is the day 4th of July. And it was a half day, and I was thinking maybe that nobody would show up to trade, but SPX was a nice little trade. Solid volume at the open, pop and drop. This was a recent pump, so this is a textbook bag holder short, and you can kind of see the stock popped and then ended up fading for a nice quick gain. Made end up $4,700 that day, so that was pretty solid. MSDI was a stock that I believe popped up on scans, or it grinded up all day, held up. You can see the market did close at 1 p.m. Eastern that day, and it grinded up more after hours. The next day, or the next 2 days rather, since July 4th was a holiday, we had MSDI kind of grind up, little squeezer, and then giving it all up after it topped out. Couldn't get over that 235 mark. So this offered a nice trade on both the long and the short side, so that was pretty nice. Ciru was a stock that popped up on scanners and grinded and held up, and once again, this first week wasn't that bad. Stocks held up. You can see the stock closed near the highs and grinded up even more after hours, so this is pretty good to see. Good to see stocks holding up like this, but the next day you got the gap down and then the pop and then the fade. So nothing much going there after the quick short. And then the last day of the week, July 7th, was when I noticed things were really slow. GLBS, known shipper turd, pop and drop. You can see the volume drop off. Look at that. 92,000 shares before 10 o'clock even hits. So see a stock trading 1.6 million shares at the open and trading only 92,000 shares in 27 minutes. So that's a telltale sign that this is things are slowing down, to say the least. And UGLY, similar volume drop off, pretty substantial. Volume pretty much non-existent in the afternoon. So you can see where we're trending. We had a couple of good days in the beginning, and then things got really evidently very slow. So the next week we had a much bigger slowdown. As you can see, my average took a hit, averaging only $1,700 a day the second week versus the first week, where I averaged $3,400. The second week still made out with a respectable 8,900 bucks, just a couple ticks below 9 grand. But you can kind of see in my notes, lots of comments like dead action, dead slow day, you know, dead volume and all that. So you can see the summer really kick it in here, full force. Let's see what I did on the 10th. So MSDI. Once again, guys, the Thinkorswim on-demand feature is absolutely amazing. If you guys don't have Thinkorswim, at least get it for the on-demand feature, so you can actually look at historical charts and backtester strategies. It's a very, very integral part of what I do in terms of analysis. So MSDI was a stock that I ended up believing I shorted here, something like that. Quick gain. As you can see, the gains aren't very substantial anymore. You got like maybe a max 20-cent gain, 25, 30 cents tops. Volume drop off once again, very substantial. 9,500 shares on the 10 o'clock candle. I mean, that's ridiculous for a stock that was one of the leading gappers of the day. The next day was even worse. There were no viable gap plays at the open. There was only ARNA, which was an institution stock that I didn't want to mess with, and also ZN, which I also didn't want to mess with because that was also a thick stock, so I ended up trading SPEX, shorted this one. Once again, note the volume drop off. You can see, start to notice the patterns and trends in these charts that we get pretty much only one, maybe two good trades available in these things before the liquidity goes away completely. I mean, this thing is just volume non-existent after 10 o'clock. One quick pop and drop, maybe a long here if you caught it, but other than that, you can see where we're headed toward. OHGI, nice little runner off scanners, and then it ended up giving it all up. TUM, this one I believe, yeah, this one held up. But then as you can kind of go through the next day, you're thinking maybe this thing holds up in the gaps of previous day's highs and it keeps going. Nope. Gaps down, ends up being a one quick panic pop, beta no volume, sideways all day no volume. So that's pretty much what we're noticing here, is that stocks that seemingly could have a day two, they're not giving it to us. So move on to the next day. Similar concept. Nothing really going. I believe I didn't trade anything at the open, just TUM on this pop and fade. XGTI was a play the next day. XGTI on July the 13th. XGTI. There we go. Pop and drop. Pretty much a pre-market high reject right there. Again, volume drop off. Yeah, you got to get out before the liquidity is gone. As you can see, you get these pretty annoying squeezes where you give back unrealized gains. And once again, lots of guys out there don't really take unrealized gains too seriously, but I don't think that's very smart. I don't agree with that at all. Unrealized gains is still technically gains you could have theoretically taken or realized. And, you know, if you take those gains off the table while you still have the volume to do so and the liquidity and not affected by the slippage, that money goes to your account, guys. So don't treat unrealized gains as like it's like just a number. You know, it's still technically money that you can, you know, realize and put into your account. So overall, pretty slow second week. Still managed with a decent, respectable 8,900 bucks, but the quality of plays pretty evident drop off there. Now the third week was the week where I had a lot of difficulty, and I think other people did as well. Ended up red this week, the only red week this week, losing 2,900 bucks. But the first day wasn't too bad. The first day we had CBay. There we go. TUM, a little bit of a fade at the open. SNGX, all day grinder. CBay. There you go. CBay, the all-day fader. There we go. That looks more like it. Fast forward to the next day. CAPR was the one that got people annoyed. This one was one of the stocks that grinded. I'm sure a lot of people were thinking maybe a pop and then the low volume fade. Shorts probably piled on thinking the same thing, but I ended up getting the grinder, and yeah, this is pretty annoying. I'd end up taking a loss on this one. But this is the start of some pretty annoying action for shorts. We can go through the next day and see very similar action on AEZS. This one really annoyed people as well. Grinded all day, held up. And then the day after that, we had AEZS part 2. Kind of held up. Lots of people got affected on this one. And on the third day, we had DFFM, which was an easy trade. TUM, nice little pop and drop. But the Friday of this week was a week that was probably the highlight of the month. Dry's Epic Squeezer, and this, I think this is a culmination of probably all the shorts that were frustrated and lost money on CAPR, AEZS, and also Tear, which was the squeezer from earlier today. Similar action as AEZS and CAPR. So people were probably thinking Dry's is probably their go-to niche moneymaker for them to revenge trade and slam the bids and make back all their losses. And look what happened. This one also squeezed. So this proved to be a pretty solid trade on the long side. I'm making 3,000 bucks on this trade, trading it long. As you can see from these wicks, it kind of dipped back down to perfectly to support levels sometimes. Kept scalping it with 2,500 shares, making 30 cents over and over again. 750 bucks. Definitely adds up, guys. Nailing these halt washout longs, and if you guys haven't watched my halt washout long videos, you should definitely should. This was a very, very effective strategy to use on a stock like Dry's, where it was clearly all buying pressure and no selling pressure until the top was put in. So it was pretty much all buying for about 35 minutes straight, which is very epic. So we haven't seen any action like this in the afternoon for a very long time, and that got me very excited. I was thinking maybe on the following Monday we'd get some follow through, but nope. We'll see. That the market pretty much said forget about it. Dry's ended up gapping up a little bit, but it ended up just fading and closing the ones, and I pretty much knew at that point that was the end of it. GNCA was a choppy open, and then grinded back. You can see this is another stock where if you didn't take your profits on these washouts and you waited for the all-day hold on the low volume, you got stuck in this mess. So you gotta be careful with that, guys. Tear, the stock that pretty much went on a tear the other day. This also gapped down. So again, this going back with the theme of stocks that should have had a day two. Gapping down, killing the Momo, no volume. Look at this non-existent volume for a stock that was in play and heavily traded on the previous trading day. Very, very depressing. The next day was a day where I did some pretty stupid stuff, forced to trade on DCIX on the long side, even though I knew it was a short because I didn't have borrows. Tried to go long, got dumped on, ended up taking a huge hit. FLKS was a nice little trade on the long side and the short side. I believe I made a couple bucks off of this one. The third day of this week was pretty good. I made some good money on ETRM. ETRM ran after hours, as you can see here, 4 to 550, and then all of a sudden it started to grind pre-market, but lower highs, lower lows pretty much, and then boom, just dropped. ETRM has a tendency to give up its gap on gap up days, so fairly confident in this one. Got the fill, got out before the volume got low, and just ignored the rest of the day. TTPH was another stock that was in play today, and you know, after the open, it just grinded back. This was a thicker stock, institution name, I believe. So after the open, you gotta leave it alone. Once support was established, people that try to hold got this stuck in this grind of death again. CAPR on Thursday was another stock that was in play. I didn't have borrows for this, but learning my lesson from forcing the trade on DCIX, I didn't force the long on it. Ended up trading naked instead, which seemed to be like a chat pump, as you can see here, from this huge green candle and no follow through. Once again, no follow through, no buying pressure or for the bounce whatsoever, indicating to me that this is probably some sort of a quick hit and run cash grab chat pump, which I took advantage of. Shorted this, made some quick bucks off of it. Nothing too crazy. Didn't size in big deal by any means. The volume didn't justify the size. And let's go to Thursday, which was the day before today's trading day. We had cool, and this is probably one of the easier trades we had all month. Perfect pre-market high reject, short, panic pop short, triple top. Nailed the top, cover it here on this low washout. Made about 2,400 bucks. JagX, similar action. But this one's a little bit trickier. Went above pre-market highs for a little bit and then faded. Just couldn't get over that $1 psychological level. So pick your poison that day. Cool or JagX. I went with cool. JagX was a stock below $1, so I didn't think I can get rebates on it, so I'd rather trade cool. So let's fast forward to today. NXTD. Today was very slow. Probably the slowest day of the month. As you can see, $720 today was the lowest output for me this month. The previous week ended up $4,500. Forgot to mention that, but that was a nice bounce back after that red third week. Overall, took a break after this third red day, and no surprise, I came back strong. $2,100 averaging the last 4 days after taking the break, finishing a total of $8,600. But NXTD today, again, look at that volume drop off. 11,000 shares by 10 o'clock, printing like only a couple hundred shares by 10:30, 11. So just shorted it, very small, 5,000 shares, cover this washout, left it alone. Nothing going. CYTR, this one's kind of annoying. Lower price stock, danced around, tight range, didn't really bother with it. DVAX was one that a lot of people traded. I didn't really put too much emphasis on this one. I traded it small. Institution name, grinder, thicker stock, didn't want to mess with it after the open. Once again, it just danced around and chopped around. So if you guys nailed it, good for you, but it wasn't for me. So overall, thumbs up. You can kind of see how this month played out. First week was great. Progressively got more difficult. Lower volume drop off got a lot more drastic and a lot more quicker. But overall, I want to leave one final point, and it ties in with my blog post. And if you guys haven't had a chance to check out my blog post today on madazmoney.com about summer trading and how to survive, Madaz's survival guide to summer trading, it pretty much ties in with this video and the point that I'm about to make. You can kind of see that I had 3 red days this month out of the 20 trading days. Now, if I recognized that those days where I did not have my grade A setup, my good high risk reward, or my good niche easy trades, and I just told myself, you know, I'm not going to press any buttons. I'm going to wait for a better setup, and if not, I'm just not going to make any trades. So let's hypothetically, let's punch in numbers. And I know in trading there's no would have, could have, should have, but let's just play with the numbers. What would have happened had I just recognized that and just taken the 0 for the day? Look at what would have happened. I would have ended up with $38,000, and that would have been a pretty respectable, you know, finish during a very slow summer month. Now, obviously, most likely I wouldn't have finished with $0 that day. I probably would have found some small size trade and made a couple $100, and let's go ahead and assume that, you know, I made the equivalent of my low, which is $720 from today. Would have had almost a $41,000 month. So that goes to show you guys that you truly cannot force any trades. You cannot really, you know, make something happen that's not there, because it ruins your month. It really does. I mean, I went from possibly making a $41,000 month to only making a $25,000 month. Now, I mean, saying that $25,000 is not a lot is probably not the right thing to say. That's a lot of money to a lot of people, and sometimes that gets overlooked as, you know, when we're so familiar with big numbers as traders. But, you know, you gotta be appreciative of the opportunities that we're given. So overall, there is definitely a lesson here to be learned, that had I not forced trades on those days, and had I not had those brain farts and those mental lapses of judgment, I would have had a substantially better month. I mean, that's huge. Going from 25 to 38 or 40, pretty substantial. So something to think about moving forward, guys, because if you have a red day and you're having a bad red day, you're not only not making money on those days, but you're also undoing a lot of your hard-earned work hard-earned profits from the previous days too. So you're canceling that out. So you have to give it some second thoughts before the next time you decide to push buttons when you don't need to. So that being said, guys, hopefully you guys found this video quite helpful. Got lots of requests to make this monthly recap video. Got a couple of emails, and then obviously today I sent out that tweet. I was thinking maybe we'd get 50 likes in an hour or so. I got 50 likes in 1 minute. So thanks a lot for that, guys. I had no idea that you guys really enjoyed these videos and you wanted to see another monthly recap. So hopefully it helps. Hopefully the market picks up. That way we can actually keep our sanity and make some good profits. So that being said, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.